part 4. So far we've touched on the tip of the sorcery iceberg. We've looked at who was involved in bringing the occult sciences to modern society, and we've also looked at the basics of native sorcery. In this episode I want to expand a little more on some of these ideas, specifically the Central American concepts of the energy body and dreaming. In the last part I'll sum up the whole of the ideas of the entire episode and some of my own experiences on dreaming and the allies. Check it out.
In part 3, I mentioned the works of Carlos Castaneda and the teachings of Don Juan. I'd encourage everyone to read some of his works, especially the teachings of Don Juan, which is his first work, and the art of dreaming, and probably the fire within. The art of dreaming presents a colourful conception of approaching the dream world, and it distinguishes natural dreams from the art of dream walking. And it goes on to explain that there are 4 gates of dreaming. Achieving this state of dreaming takes time and patience, but it's something that can be done every day because we sleep every day, for the most part. It took me about 5 to 6 months to get my first real experience, and it was very exciting. I give a detailed account of it in part 5. Castaneda aside for the moment, the best stories of dreaming the world has is that of the Australian Aboriginals, and they still call it the dream time. Sadly, the Aboriginals as a people have been almost completely destroyed because of the European invasion, and have come to see their dream time with the rationality of postmodernism that we've inflicted on them and contaminated their minds with. So they see them as fables and stories and myths and legends. That's their own history, but I believe, however, that the dream time did exist and was a time when our perception of the world as we understand it was vastly different from the now. The dream time was an era where the earth was not corrupted by rational explanations, and the human species perceived the natural world as it is. That is, they actually saw a broader spectrum of reality. They saw energy flowing through every object and accepted it for its pure state. We as a modern species now can only see a limited amount of the light spectrum because we've closed our mind and reduced our reality to what we deem necessary in order to function on a daily scale. And as that functionality required a greater deal of common earthly awareness, as we grew, we learned how to become dominant and take what we needed through violence and control, rather than asking the earth. The more we learn to develop and function on this lowly plane, the more we come to a consensus of rulership and reality. We formed our perceptions through the necessity of the social contract, a collective agreement of what the world should and should not have, what belongs and what doesn't. As the rulers of modernity and rationality came to power through the greed and violence, it was the elite who chose to enforce a particular perception for the rest of us. But old habits die hard, and the allies and the elder gods have not ever allowed this postmodern illusion of humanist rationality to completely dominate. The elder gods are jealous, and they will not allow their servants to become so arrogant as to forget them and deny their existence. Finally, I mentioned in part 3 the assemblage point. The assemblage point is a particular and specific spot on the energy body, or the field, or the cocoon, that receives the streams of energy from the universe outside our cocoon and pulls in a minute amount of energy, allowing us to perceive. The assemblage point can be moved and does move on its own when we sleep and dream. So the next time you sleep and are dreaming, be aware that your assemblage point is shifted and make a record of where you've been and what you've done. You'll be amazed at what you record over time.
Well, that's the end of part 4. I hope you've enjoyed the series so far, and the next part is our concluding part to the episode, so check it out as soon as you can, and don't forget to tell your friends and pass it on. Thanks.